What's going on, Bull fam? Man, we finally back, man. I mean, it's been a long off season. Dude, I honestly I feel like the NFL offseason is just so long. I also don't really do too much of the preseason because I just feel like the 53-man roster keeps changing. Too many unnecessary stories. The whole Brandon Ayuk situation completely annoyed me. You're gonna do all this just to end up with the same contract that was put on the table in the first place. That's why I just kind of stay away from it. Outside of the draft and all the other free agency signings. Outside of that, it's just quiet, man. But we're finally back. I got a few friends. We're gonna go out tonight to go watch, the first game of the season because we're just excited to have football back. Go Ravens, because fuck the Chiefs. I'm excited for fantasy football, and I'm excited to kind of just give out my opinion for the rest of the season, man. We're talking about Raiders and us Chargers week 1. And I don't think there's a better test that we could have gotten right out the gate than the Raiders. Honestly, the way both teams are going through new coaching regimes. Jim Harbaugh actually just came back from winning a natty. He has won everywhere he's been. He is still molding this team into what he wants it to be. We have a lot of roster changes, and same for the Raiders, right? Antonio Pierce, came in, did a great job for the Raiders in the second half of the season. I do think, though, being an interim head coach is very different than coaching throughout an entire offseason. Now everybody has somewhat of a script or some footage of what you want to run. So let's see if the Raiders can actually, continue the way they played last season. Because you know what? I got to give it to them, man. They played hard. I think Antonio Pierce is going to have this defense playing just as hard this year. That was one thing for the Raiders last year. You really didn't know if they had any strengths. They for sure have a strength this year, and that is defensively. And this is why, I'm really glad that this is our season opener. First of all, they're going to play here in LA. And look, my biggest hope coming out from the gate, and I wish I was going to be at the game. And every year that I've noticed that, the Chargers, since they moved to LA, the crowd has gotten better and better. It used to be 20-80, 30-70, and last year I did start to notice, even for the Raider games, it became 40-60. More fans are starting to show up to support the team. Maybe they are starting to get somewhat forgiven by San Diego fans. I'm not sure, but look, I know I could never jump off the wagon. It's a team that I love and a team that I've grown up watching since 2007. I can't change teams regardless of how I feel about the Spanos family. It's what it is. I am on this team, on this bandwagon now for life. And I do hope that people come out to support the team, week 1. I do hope that people, even Michigan fans, come out to support Jim Harbaugh, for getting them that natty. And you know what? I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that we have somewhat of a home field advantage this season. I think that's asking for a lot against the Raiders. For some reason, the Raiders is just, they have a massive fan base here in LA. So, you know what? If it could be 50-50, I'll be happy with that. But I wish I was going to the game. I know that's going to be a lot of Raider fans there. So I hope Charger fans come out and support. And let's see how we kind of handle that, week 1. The Raiders have never won in LA. So let's keep that streak alive. But that's for sure one of the things that I'm excited to see how the fans show up for week 1. Second is, we all know how this team and Harbaugh and Ortiz want to build this team. They want to build a very strong offensive line, which I agree with. I've already mentioned in videos past that I really don't believe in paying wide receivers or high stock players. They just take up too much salary cap, and at the end of the day, they're easily more replaceable than offensive linemen. And offensive linemen make everyone better, to what Jim Harbaugh said. At the end of the day, those are players that don't depend on anyone else, but everyone else depends on them. And that's why, to me, it's crazy when I see players like Jamar Chase and all of them asking for $40 million a year. You completely destroy your team's salary cap, especially if you're already paying a quarterback. To me, that just makes no sense. So look, I know this will be a hard take, maybe a conversation for a different video, but if I was the Bengals, I would trade Jamar Chase, keep him for the year, 2, and then trade him. I know it sounds crazy, man, but over and over, top tier wide receivers do not win when they get paid. You just can't build a team if you're paying 2 players 80-90 million a year. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. So okay, so we're building the offensive line. We drafted Joe Alt at the right tackle. I think seeing Joe Alt go up against Max Crosby is going to be super fun. Seeing Matlock at fullback is going to be exciting. Let's see how that goes, how that works. But if our two tackles can play well and play great for this season, man, I'm excited. This is why, like, week 1, that's going to be the matchup we're all looking at, because if they can hold up, if we can have a top 5 offensive line, then I'm going to have zero doubts about this offense. I think our defense is going to be disgusting. I just might as well just say that right now. Seeing this defense in the preseason, what this defense could possibly do with the starters, to me, is insane. I'm not banking on Joey Bosa to stay healthy. At this point, that would be a bad bet, man. This guy just cannot stay healthy. He's already going in with a broken hand. Look, man, but we have 4 pass rushers that'll be able to alleviate some snaps from him. If we can have him in, just on major snaps, keep him healthy that way, man, I think we're going to be just scary, man. I think Thule's going to have another is going to have a complete breakout year. And I think Max still has a lot left in the tank, man. I think this is going to be a great year for us. I think we're going to make quarterbacks' lives absolutely miserable. I think we're going to lead the league in sacks, man. I feel very confident in saying that. I think we'll lead the league in sacks. I think we'll lead the league in turnover ratio. Maybe not lead in turnovers. I think we'll be top 5. But I think we are just going to be disgusting for teams. I think no team is going to want to have to deal with our pass rush. I think that pass rush is going to make everyone better, especially our secondary, which is a position group that I feel like we had a ton of questions on. Because, can Asante Samuel make that leap? Is he a number 1 corner? There's a lot of guys that didn't fulfill their potential in other teams, like Fulton. And there's still a lot of young players that we still don't know enough about, whether they're going to be good enough to be, starting corners in this league. So we have a lot of questions in that situation, but our pass rushers are going to do them a lot of justice. I think they're going to have a great season because of our pass rush. But for me, the one player that I'm looking at and that I think will have a breakout year and I think will make a real name for himself this season is going to be Daiyan Henley on the defensive side of the ball. I think he'll be flying around, making some plays. But I'm excited to see Daiyan Henley, since for some reason he got no snaps last year. But yeah, so I'm not worried about that. I think, honestly, defensively, we are going to make the Raiders' life absolutely hell on Sunday. I think Minshew's going to struggle. And typically, at the beginning of the season, defenses do a lot better than offenses, right? Because everyone's still kind of getting into rhythm. Defenses will have a little easier, and knowing that, I just think that we're going to muddy the game. I think the Charger defense is going to come out and destroy, the Raider offense, because I don't think that offensive line is going to be able to hold up. I think Minshew's just going to have a tough day. I think the only thing that I'm worried about, and this is probably because, like, as a Charger fan, something that we haven't had for years, or that we have had for years, is poor run defense and poor tackling. If that doesn't change, which I feel like I shouldn't have to worry about it so much this year, but that's the one aspect of the game that if it doesn't change, then the Raiders have a real shot to compete with us. Because outside of that, I think we have all the leverage. But that's the part that scares me the most, because I know Antonio Pierce is also kind of like, a tough head coach. He's going to want to run the ball. Zamir White is going to be now the new starter. Are they going to run the ball on us? And if they do, can we stop it? And not only can we stop it, but can we actually tackle? If we can't do that, then okay. Again, that's going to make our year really tough, because our pass rushers aren't going to mean the thing if every team can just get 5 yards of carry on us like they did under Staley. I don't see that happening, but that's something that, just as a Chargers fan, just because I've seen it so goddamn often, that I need to see change, for this regime, right? I need to see these guys tackling. I want to see Derwin James get back into, that DJ that we saw earlier in his career where he was just lights out everywhere. I do think the defense will be better this year. I think they're going to be dramatically better this year. But that's going to be the one aspect of the game that I really need to see changed. But back to the offense. Look, man, we have a lot of question marks on offense, but that's why the offensive line is key for us. If that offensive line can hold, especially pass rushers like Wilkins and Max Crosby, we are going to be just fine against anybody. Because that means, because the Raiders probably have a top 3, top 4 pass rush outside of us. So if we can hold that down, guys like McConkey are going to get better. Because that's another question of concern, right? Everyone's talking about our wide receivers. I'm actually fine with it. As much as I loved Keenan, I was never the biggest Mike Williams fan. I've said that before in other videos, but I also never thought they complemented each other very well. So I think this receiving core, although they're kind of like no names, rookies, or guys that are completely unproven, I do think they complement themselves better than the wide receiver core we had before. Not only that, but this wide receiver core, I think I think Justin Herbert will bring out the best out of these wide receivers. I mean, I remember Jim Harbaugh with the 49ers. I remember like Crabtree, Michael Crabtree. Like, I don't remember any big time wide receivers. And a lot of the QBs always played well under him. I mean, I even look at Michigan. It doesn't look like they really had any top tier receiving talent. That's just not the way he builds teams. So I don't think we should be worried about it. I think Palmer is being undervalued. I think McConkey's going to be great. I don't think he's just a slot, but I think that's where he's going to excel. I think having guys like Chark being able to take the top off will open it up for everyone else. No one is talking about Hurst and Disley, who have had great seasons in the past, with good teams. So I think we're going to be just fine, man, offensively. As long as Easton Stick's not back there, I think we're going to be fine. Because, yeah, man, that was brutal to watch. I think Herbert's going to have a great season, but I think this is the year where we can solidify where Herbert is, because there's always this conversation with Herbert where it's like he's top 5 or people are saying he's overhyped. Now, I'm in the middle because I see Herbert as a top 3 talented QB in the league. The problem with that is, if we're unbiased as Charger fans, you can't say top 5 with someone that, even though we know, as Charger fans, we saw the bad coaching. We saw the fact he had no running game. We saw how bad our defense was, and we still were able to get wins. But beside all that, because he doesn't have the wins or the playoff success, we can't put him there yet if you're being realistic. As fans, do we know what he could be if he had some actual support? Hands down, I think he'd be top 3. I think he's got all the talent in the world. The more I see Jim Harbaugh talk about Herbert, he does seem more of a leader than the media makes him out to be. I think there's only one area in which I wish Herbert was a little better, and that is, we all know he could throw rockets, but sometimes I don't think he needs to, and I think that's why he has so many receivers drop passes, because he's throwing absolute bombs. And, man, that's got to be a hard ball to catch, right? Not everyone is Keenan Allen out there. So it's like being able to put touch on the ball, I think is one thing that, Herbert, I think, has always needed to work on. And the other part is tempo of the game. I think the top tier QBs in the league, whether you talk about Mahomes, Burrow, and even if you go back to guys like Brady and Peyton Manning, they controlled the game, right? It just felt like they were the ones that dictated the tempo of the game. And that's something I don't think Herbert has really figured out yet. Again, bad coaching, that has a huge play in it. But it's like you look at guys like Manning who would check out of plays. They just kind of made their own calls as they went. That's something I want to see from Herbert this year. Take reins of the offense. If what Greg Roman isn't working, you take command of the offense and you go ahead and do what you need to do. But control the game. Too often I feel like in the past seasons it was always like, oh, we had an incredible drive, incredible plays, or we were just getting 3 and outs. Let's move the ball consistently. So that's something I do want to see this year, but I think this is the season where Herbert can solidify what he really is, especially because he has no-name receivers right now. If he can have a great year, which I think he will, I don't think he's going to have crazy numbers, just because I don't think that's what this offense is. I think there's going to be games where Herbert only throws like 180 to 220 yards a game, maybe has 1 touchdown, but that's just because of the way this offense is. This offense is going to be built. But I think if his efficiency is still high and the Chargers win 11 to 12 games, which is where I think we should be with our strength of schedule, because I can see I'm at 10 to 12 games, but realistically, man, this team could win 12 games. I think that's really like their ceiling right now. They could be a lot better than we think. But that's kind of like I'm seeing Herbert, being able to throw for 3,500 yards. I don't think it's going to be crazy numbers, but I think he's going to be extremely efficient and the Chargers are finally going to be winning games. We're not going to be in those, if we are in those close situations, we're going to learn how to close out better. We're going to learn how to play better. And I think in most situations, we are going to be the ones to command tempo of the game. At least that's what I expect with Jim Harbaugh. So, anyways, man, coming down to the game, when it comes to my review, man, here for this preview is just really, it's hard to do week one because none of us have any stats. We don't know how any of these teams are going to play as two brand new coaching regimes, a lot of new players. So there's a lot of question marks. But if I go down the list of how I feel like the game is going to go, I think coaching, the Chargers have an edge. I think quarterback, the most important position, Chargers have, we're winning that by far. When it comes to our offensive line, I think it's going to hold up better against their pass rushers than their offensive line holding up against our pass rush. I think we are going to be disgusting defensively. I think the Raiders struggle to move the ball against us. I think a lot of mistakes get caused because of our pass rush. And I know Khalil Mack is always looking for blood when it comes to the Raiders. I think in regards to receiving core, the Raiders easily win that. Just in regards to names, though. And that's why I like the way Jim Harbaugh builds teams, because you can make up, yes, they have a lot more talent right now and bigger names than we do on the receiving end. But I think our scheme, our quarterback, and our offensive line can elevate those guys. So it might not be as far off as we think. Or then again, hey, maybe they just come out and they show up and they just completely destroy us through the air. Who knows? But right now, it's like, this is why I like the way we're building. We can elevate those positions, with all the other players around us and with the scheme around us. But right now, I have to give that edge to the Raiders. They have the better wide receiving game. I think running game, I think we'll be able, whether we can run the ball against them, that's one thing we have to see. But I do think our offensive line is going to be able to hold up because Trey Pipkins is at guard now. We're going to see, I haven't seen too much of Bozeman, so let's see how Herbert and him kind of have that chemistry, and if we can run the ball, how's J.K. Dobbins going to look? Can he stay healthy? Because, man, if this kid can stay healthy, who knows, man? Who knows what this kid could be? So, yeah, man, I really look at every phase of this game, and I feel like the Chargers really excel in a lot of different positions except the skill positions. That's the only place in which I see the Raiders having an advantage. But again, like I said, our scheme and everyone else around them can elevate those guys. But defensive line, I think they're gonna have a battle on their hands against our offensive line. They do have some great, linebackers out there, and Hobbs I think he's in for a breakout year, man. So we'll see how that works out with, them defending our wide receivers. But hey, man, what better test to get out the gate to start with a divisional foe? But I see this to be a grind-out game. I do see us winning this game 21-10. I just don't feel like the Raiders are going to be able to move the ball on us. I think we're going to get them off the field a lot. I think their defense is going to be on the field a lot, and we're going to wear them down. And I think they stay defeated here in LA, and we send all the Raider fans home upset, man. That's how I'm feeling, at least. If we do, for some reason, drop this game, man, it's going to be devastating. Because I really do feel like we are the better team. And as much as, like, the Raiders have improved, man, I think we are the better team. I think we are the more talented team. I think we are a playoff team. I think we're built correctly. We're coached a lot better than something that any of us Charger fans have had in so damn long. But, yeah, man, I guess that's kind of where I'm at. This felt a lot longer than I thought, but I guess we're going to see how week one goes, man. I hope you guys have fun today. Set up your lineups. For Charger fans, man, I really hope you come out and show up and support your team. This Sunday, I wish I could go to the game. I have to work, but I will be watching every snap. We're going to talk again after the game. Hopefully, we're talking about a dub, but this is week one preview against the Raiders, and I think we take that win. So anyway, Charger family, go out, enjoy your Thursday. Football is back. Can't wait for Sunday football, and we'll talk soon, man. Peace.